All right, everybody. Welcome to the Tinker Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Greg Dowd, and tonight I am joined by my good buddy, Frank Hark. Frank joins us tonight as he's currently has a clean bill of health after his battle with cancer. So Frank, thanks for joining. And I'd like to get into, that whole experience that you went through. And I know we talked a little bit before we started, but about carrying a mindset with you. Like, what you want to share a little bit about your mindset with everybody?
Oh, for sure. So, the last year and a half has been a real struggle. You know, yeah, just about a year and a half, because it was in February of 24 that I got the diagnosis. And then I completed chemo on August 20th of 24. It was a 6-month course. I had 12 sessions. And, I had I'd lost a lot of health. We had talked previously. I did a lot of alternative ones. I just realized today, it's funny. So today I got my 1-year scan. I did it yesterday. I got the results today. And I was terrified that the news was not going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm talking with my wife, so for the last 2 weeks, and really the last couple of months, now I did have a number of issues, personal issues unrelated to my cancer, but it's been a real whirlwind the last 6 months. I also finally got my thyroid, half my thyroid removed because they had also found a tumor there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and my voice is not doing the greatest. So I was terrified of that surgery. I finally went through it. It was on August 20th. So it was a year from when I finished chemo because I delayed it.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I, we were really going to try to monitor it because it was a slow growing tumor. I didn't really do well over the last year on my diet or exercise plan. So the doctor too said, listen, just remove it. That he's like, I've seen people wait and then it spreads and then it's a whole thing. And so I really decided to do it. And we can talk more about it. I'm sure that's going to be an ask of your questions of what I would recommend. So just to finish my discussion on mindset, like I was low-key terrified for the last couple of weeks. And it's so funny. I didn't even realize how much it was affecting me. And
kind of the stress of all
yeah,
of that.
well, AJ, when we saw AJ last week, he asked me, "Are you nervous about your scan?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I am." And it was hard to sleep Sunday night because the scan was on Monday, and then it was rough to sleep this morning, get the results, and the doctor told me, he came in, he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late, I'm running behind," and man, I couldn't stop myself. I hugged him because I was so terrified. And honestly, I've just had this elated feeling all day. So as you know, personally, I've gone through a lot in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like, so the surgery really was much worse. And I might put out my own blog or podcast on the details of that, because the number of people that that came up to me and really appreciated what I put on social media really has astounded me. And I mentioned to you just briefly before, someone reached out to me on Facebook. He's a Facebook friend, but it was funny because I knew we worked in the same building, and he would always post pro NASA stuff, and we became Facebook friends. And now I used to see him around and always say hi. Anyway, he said to me, yeah, he got a diagnosis in July and he just started his chemo.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, my voice is a little rough. I can talk about that a little bit too, because that was a good experience. You can put that in your show notes. Like a big part of all of these things is the doctors don't tell you a lot.
Yeah.
And I'd like to give the details. Like, honestly, this scar, like, the real problem is there's like this hard mass underneath. It honestly feels like I have a huge tumor there. Apparently that's just inflamed tissue. It feels so strange. And anyway, let me stay on track. So I told him last night I was really tired, and I was like, listen, we'll talk now. He's like, oh, we'll talk for 10 minutes. I ended up talking to him for over an hour. I brought my wife in because Charlotte was a huge, honestly, I kind of did the stuff and focused on that. And she was the one who did all the online research to find the alternative things.
Yeah.
So anyway, talking to him, it brought a lot back. I was also, like I said, this morning still scared, and one of the things that kind of shocked me when I talked to him yesterday, because I was like, listen, you're going to get through this. And he goes, thank you so much. Like, the doctors have not said anything like that to me. And, they can't. They didn't say that to me. They just said it was a very good cancer, right? Like, the others are worse. My doctor promised me my hair would come back. He was a liar. Thank God I can pull off the bald.
Yeah.
But I really, so through this, okay, this is a little rough. I've had a few people reach out to me. Some are doing well, but honestly, 3 people that I've met have since died.
Oh, man.
And one was my friend Double A. I'm not 100% sure, but he doesn't respond to anything. And I looked up obituaries, but he was not in good shape. And I just remember, I just realize how grateful I should be. I did a lot, and that was part of we can move on. The last thing on mindset, because I also recommended this, I ended up saying here are the top things I would recommend to anyone that gets a cancer diagnosis. And actually, after I had an issue over the summer, I haven't talked to my therapist again, but I gotta restart that. And that's another thing that, and I'll talk about that as one of my recommendations, is one of the things I did is a side, which is not paid for by insurance, strong recommend, if you have the money, is to go to the Rorton Clinic. And I can send you the link for them. They're in Wichita, Kansas. My wife discovered it when I was halfway through my chemo. And it took us a few weeks to get on their schedule, and we went there for a week. And what they do is integrative oncology. So their advice helps you with dealing with the chemo and especially the recovery after. Now, that is a huge time commitment and a monetary commitment. Like, I couldn't tell you the amount. I think we spent between $20,000 and $30,000. One of the main part of that, just to let everybody know, was I did about 4 months of high dose vitamin C.
4 months.
4 months, and I'm going to caveat again, and you should put this in the notes, that I'm not a doctor, so this is in no way medical advice. My doctor said stay away from vitamin C. And, I ignored that advice. But I will tell you that my blood test 2 months after my chemo was the best blood test results I've gotten in like 3 years. So wow. I do attribute a big part of my recovery which I'm still going through. People, the rule of thumb is that it takes twice as long to recover as the chemo is. So a 6-month course is a year, and I will tell you, I still don't feel like I've fully recovered.
Yeah. Because I mean, isn't basically what the chemo's doing is just kind of going in and just like wiping
Tries to
out most of your.
it kills everything, but it tries to kill the cancer faster.
Yeah.
So it's a traumatic event. It does a lot. My hair. Some of it is I'm 51 years old, so it could have been just that my hair was on that time. I don't know. Like I said, is
Well, you had long
long
hair.
So good. I miss it. But just my wife joked a couple of years ago that she'd divorce me because I told her if I was ever partially balding, I was going fully bald.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh no, you won't." Because even when I would ask her, "Hey, am I getting a bald spot?" she'd just say no. I was like, "You didn't even look," because she was, she's shorter than me, so she doesn't have to see the bald spot anyway. But
the chemo just comes in and just destroys a lot of your.
Oh yeah, it's body. Just that's what the high dose vitamin C is supposed to help.
Okay.
Both during the chemo and especially the recovery. Now, there was a lot of advice that I got from the Rorden Clinic that I just didn't end up following. So my top one, as not medical advice, if we can get into that, or
yeah. I'll have a disclaimer or something on this episode.
Yeah, go ahead and put this. This is my experience, and I think I talked about this in detail during our last discussion. But febendazole, and I would take ivermectin right now as well. And in fact, I'm gonna take it just as a preventative, to give my experience. I literally. I felt something started in January.
Yeah.
Okay. We bought a huge piece of furniture and I moved it into the house with my son and I felt something in my chest. And stupidly, I thought, well, as a heavy set guy, former smoker, I'm like, oh, this is cardiac. I got out at home EKG and, my heart was okay. But I had this pain in my chest, and I really thought I had pulled a muscle by lifting this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember in 24 in January, there was an ice storm here in Huntsville.
Yep.
Where everything, yeah. So I didn't do anything. I tried to do a CrossFit workout because before my cancer, I was doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I did this one, and I was like, man, I can't do this. And I was like, my chest hurts.
You're like, something's really.
And the coach was like, take it easy, don't do it. So I stopped. And, that was middle of January. And, like any man, I ignored it. And then it finally got so bad that February 1st, I called my Brent at Integrative Healthcare, who again I recommend. Although one of our friends tried to make an appointment with him, and there's like a 3-month wait list for new patients.
Oh wow!
But he's a integrative health practitioner. He's not a doctor. But I went to him, and they were just like, "Hey, listen, we don't have an X-ray machine here. You need to get an X-ray." And February 1st, I went to Ultra Care, one of those, little, and they said, well, you have bronchitis. They took the X-ray, they gave me a nebulizer. They said you have bronchitis, but there's something there. And the doctor told me, she goes, it could be nothing. It could be just because the bronchitis, you're inflamed, but she's like, it could be really serious. So she scheduled me for a CT scan the very next day. And that was February 2nd. So I remember all these dates.
Yeah.
And she said I'd have the results Friday afternoon. I didn't get the results Friday afternoon, but I pinged them, the imaging center on Monday, and they were like, "Yeah, you've got something." And from that, it was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
So, what this is my true first piece of advice. Well, no, I would go with the febendazole and ivermectin, and I would honestly go to Tractor Supply or order it from Amazon. Get the horse stuff and the dog stuff. My wife used to give it to me. You take the powder. Originally, we were doing 1 gram a day, but there's a lot of books out there that go into this. And for my body weight, I needed 3 grams a day. And I would take it with avocado oil or olive oil. Avocado oil or olive oil. I liked it better with the avocado oil.
I'm going to have to look into this further. I've heard things about using an anti-parasitic if you've had a cancer diagnosis.
So the interesting thing is a lot of people have so I've actually been tested for parasites. I don't have any. That was one of the things the Rorton Clinic did. They do a full panel. They do fungal, all of the stuff, which I really thought I did. I thought I had, but especially it's really prevalent in the South with the humid weather.
Yeah.
And it can affect a lot of things, like especially your mental, your mood, and your attitude. But again, I'm actually going to try to get the horse paste. Actually, I recommended the febendazole, and a friend at work, he's got some kind of tumor. I think it's more benign. But what I'll tell, this is my experience with febendazole, and I'll also say, like you said. So their results are coming out now, that ivermectin actually. So the really interesting thing is there is some kind of mechanism where cancer is related to a virus.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't understand the mechanism yet. And even accepted medicine will forego talking about the V's.
Yeah.
But one of their arguments for Gardasil, which I think is one of the worst vaccines they've ever done, like they've taken it all. I believe they've taken it all. But they say that there's some kind of, for women, there's some kind of connection between the HPV, human papillomavirus, and cervical cancer, which is why they recommend that vaccine. So the linkage between viruses and cancer is there. And I believe, and again, I'm not a doctor, but I believe that that's why these antivirals are especially effective. And again, like I said, I'm going to start getting it, and I will probably cycle it and do like a month on, a month off, something like that.
Are those antiviral? I guess they were used as again.
I believe so.
And everything, yeah.
And so here's another note I'll give you about specifically febendazole. Is the human approved version by the FDA is mebendazole, and I could get those names wrong. Forget the words, doesn't matter. The Rorton Clinic doctor I saw gave me a prescription for mebendazole, and I brought it to the pharmacy. Insurance denied it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, well, how much is it without? And he says, it's $3,000 for a month. Now, ivermectin and febendazole are honestly stuff that has been used for years. It's very low incidence of side effects. And I know ivermectin, it might be the same for febendazole, I'm not sure. They're so cheap to manufacture that before all of this bullshit the last 5 years, it was more expensive to pack it in paper sacks and ship it to farmers. So whatever we can talk in private. You'll hear my colorful language a lot more about what I really feel about the FDA. As I've said before, the Fraud and Death Administration, and how disgusting that is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to continue. That's my plan. Like I said, it's unplanned, but that would honestly be the first thing I would do. Now, the second thing, and this is a little more difficult, I would also look into the Rorton Clinic. So whether that's one or two, honestly, we did so much of the research and we tried so many different things. Go to an expert that helps. And again, for the Rorton Clinic specifically is not anti chemo or any of these, but one of the things about the standard orthodoxy with cancer is they kind of overdo it. If you remember, like honestly, I was cancer free after 4 sessions. And remember, I said I had 12 sessions. They refused to change my chemo course. And honestly, I was fine through 4. It was really after session 6, so 3 months, that the chemo really started getting bad. Actually, I lost a lot of muscle. I'm still trying to build back. And I was doing good the first 6 sessions. Now, I decided not to ignore my standard oncologist's advice for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons was, if I denied it, I didn't know what the legality is, but if I denied it and the cancer came back, I think then the insurance company doesn't pay. So I went through the whole course, but you might remember I got really depressed about that.
Yeah.
It made everything harder because I really was like, oh my God, I did it. And that's the other thing I still want to say about febendazole. So my integrative healthcare practitioner, Brett, at Integrative Healthcare, as soon as I got this diagnosis, and that was on like Monday, I started to fast. Now, I had been playing with fasting the year before, and I had done like a 14 or 15-day fast the previous year. So for anyone who has to lose a lot of weight, I recommend long-term fast. I recommend for men. My wife has tried it, and she has not had a success with long-term fasting. What she sometimes does is 36-hour fasts.
Okay.
But I'll tell you right now, I'm on day 8 of a fast. I'm down 20 pounds, and I'm going to go another 6 days because I have a trip. So I'm on a vacation. I'm not going to try fasting. But my goal is really to try to cut out as much of the garbage. I'm probably going to cut out alcohol for the next couple of months until I get down. My goal right now is 15% body fat.
Yeah.
And I got to build back muscle.
Right.
So I'll probably start. So I'm going to hold off. I did this. You asked me, you had an open thing. My voice is bothering me, but
yeah,
I'm going to let that, I can talk more. We'll talk more about my issues with the thyroid and the surgery, because I think that's useful for people, anyone who wants to know more details about that. And but so I would start the febendazole. So it was so hard to remember in what bad shape I was. My chest hurt. I couldn't go it was difficult to go from the couch to the bathroom.
It just like sapped all your energy from you.
It would just hurt to walk. And on the Tuesday night, so February 2nd, I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
I went to the emergency room at about 10 o'clock. They put me right in. I went to Crestwood here in Huntsville, which I've had great experiences there. I've been there many more times than I ever wanted to go
in the
last year. But the emergency room, they checked me out. They said, so they can tell if you're having a heart attack, not just from an EKG. because the EKG came out clear, but also from your blood enzymes.
Oh,
I guess there's blood markers. They're like, you're not having a heart attack. It's probably anxiety. They gave me a CT scan. They said the tumor hasn't grown. One of the nefarious things about particularly my cancer, Hodgkins lymphoma, is it's very fast growing. It's very aggressive.
okay.
So when they diagnosed me, they told me you've had this for months, not years. The thyroid, they said I had for months, which was, my oncologist was like, ignored that until I was through the chemo. So what I wanted to say about that is, they sent me home, and this is one day of fasting. I literally, because I like to walk, so I got my Fitbit. I usually get about 10,000 steps a day. I'm deficient today, but that's how it goes. And literally, they said you could go home. I think they gave me some anxiety pills. I really don't remember. It wasn't a thing. I don't think I even used them. But outside of Crestwood, I had to lean up against the thing. And I was like, I asked my wife to go get the car. I was like, I can't make it. And I literally was like, man, I want to go back into the hospital. I can't move. And so she called Brett, and Brett recommended febendazole. And we started febendazole and the fasting. And I think it was definitely by day 10, but I think after 5 days, I was fine. This is long before chemo. This is before I knew, because it took about 2 or 3 weeks 3 weeks when they, you go, you do a bunch of scans. Oh, it was probably more like 10 days. So after 10 days of fasting, probably like now, I was down 20 pounds, 25 pounds.
Well, you were feeling better at that point.
Well, I attribute that to the febendazole. Like the pain in my chest went away. We know that the tumor did shrink in those first 30 or 35 days, because like you can feel it up against it was wrapped around my aorta, and it was up against my chest.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm remembering that first week. So one thing I will say, I never had an experience with anything serious with the medical community before this. So I will say we have a cost issue and we have an insurance issue, but for me, it was amazing. Literally, here you're going to see this doctor, you're going to see this doctor, you're going to see this, and my functional medicine practitioner helped me get in with a great doctor.
Okay.
So functional medicine practitioners have to have a cover doctor to give you prescriptions and stuff. Okay. And my oncologist was literally the brother of that cover doctor.
Okay.
So, again, this is for anybody that has any kind of health issues. If you have the money, because insurance doesn't cover it, is find yourself a good functional medicine practitioner. I had been seeing mine for 3 or 4 years. Again,
he's basically, functional medicine is about trying to get your own immune system to heal
your whole body. So your normal doctor, they do the standard blood tests. They say these are in range. Okay, there's one medicine for that, or one. I literally, every appointment I have with him, again, that we pay for without insurance, it's like $150 every 3 months. So part of his particular requirement is that you have to get your blood tested every 3 months, and you have to see him every 3 months.
I see.
So we're trying a new thing. I don't know. I think I put it in our group chat. It's called Function.
Okay.
So Charlotte and I both signed up for it. She's actually just got her blood test results. Because you can go to anybody, even so. This goes. I'm doing the side thing, but I'm going to loop back where I ramble. So I have insurance. My wife, because she's in better shape, because I honestly would have done it, but my work pays for my insurance. and it was like $400 a month to pay for her insurance.
Okay.
She's joined a health share. I'm sure you're familiar with those.
Yeah.
Now the health shares are much more discriminating. You have to be, within weight, which she is, and I was not. I still am not. I was for a period there in the last year, but I'm my focus the next 3 months is to get my weight back under control. But what's interesting is that the insurance price with what I had to pay was the same price she pays for her blood tests without insurance. Just to go show you, I don't know if you heard that the one guy was on social media where he goes, his daughter had to take an ambulance and he got the bill and it was $400. And he said, well, I have insurance. And they redid the bill and then he owed $1,200.
Gosh.
Some absurd things. I didn't have that experience. Like I said, is my insurance, it was a terrible way to find out, but it's not something I ever paid that much attention to. It was pretty good. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, I felt terrible. And I remember the other one too. I'm going to let everybody know. So they saw it was in my chest. They saw it was by the
aorta.
It was wrapped around the aorta. It was outside of the lung. So I saw a pulmonary specialist. I saw 3 different doctors. The surgeon said, yeah, this is not operable, which in the end was a blessing because the specific chemo for Hodgkins lymphoma literally melts the tumor. And thank God that, because a lot of people do chemo, then they have a surgery, and then they do radiation. So radiation was out of the thing because it was within my chest. You don't want to be blasting radiation around there. Like, we found a YouTuber who was younger than me, similar age, but he had a lump here and he had to go through radiation as well. But anyway, my whole point in that was I was in terrible shape. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. So I go to this is within the first week. I go to the pulmonary specialist. He gives me a breathing test. I had to go in this like chamber, like a phone booth. And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take deep breaths. And, that was one of the times where I broke down. I literally went into the bathroom at the office and I wept. I was like, I'm dead. Like, this is it.
Yeah, that's scary.
I'm not surviving this. Now, thankfully, that feeling, and this goes more into the mindset that I wanted to let people know. Now, so the febendazole, once it kicked in, I didn't keep good records. I did try to document as much as possible, but I want to say within 10 days, by February 10th, I was feeling like a new person. And I attribute that to the fasting and to the febendazole. I could be wrong. Again, not a doctor. This is anecdotal. I literally was so weird by 20 days. I don't know, remember, I was like, I felt so good and I had lost weight. And I was like, oh man, people are not going to believe you have cancer. They're going to believe you're full of shit. Yeah, I was getting a little, so that was the other part of fasting long term. You go past 5 or 6 days and you get an elated feeling. Your outlook, so part of that was it was very successful. Part of that was that I was very active now and recommend. So none of the standard oncologists recommend changing diet or doing any of that. In fact, my friend
you froze up a little bit there. Do you mind?
Okay, what do you want me to go back?
You said that you were fasting and staying active, I believe, is what you're saying.
Yes. So I was fasting and I started feeling much better. And I feel like that was a part of why my mindset got so strong. I literally went from it was like a 3-day. I was being passive aggressive, like Charlotte and Mario, my wife and son, we would say something like, I'm probably gone, you know. And then I went to this thing a week later, and I was like, I don't need to eat ever again. I might be a god, you know, not that crazy. But I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. No one's going to believe, you know, no one's going to believe I even have cancer.
So your mind kind of shifted there a little bit.
For sure. And I attribute that to and that would be my advice. You know, the anxiety is the killer. I'm a strong believer in the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
It's so easy. There's so many things to get down on yourself. It's a difficult, you know, again, I had a strong support system. For me, I put my stuff on social media. So I would, you know, film videos, and they were as much for me as anyone else. And I would put them up, and, you know, they reached out far and wide on YouTube and Facebook. And, you know, like I said, as people would be, and a lot of people would come up to me and say they were really inspired. You know, again, I was just kind of, and that was part of my decision after I was done with the chemo. You know, we tried to find some therapists. That was very hard. I finally found someone I like, and I really got to reach out to him again, because after the summer, we got super busy. A lot of things happened, and I haven't ever rescheduled with him. But so I need to do that. You know, again, because I think that mindset, that's a part of it. Like,
kind of getting to talk through it with by sharing it with others, and what you're
you know, it's a thing, because other than that, like 3-4 day period where I was like, oh my God, this is it. Now, I've also, you know, I'm 50 years old. At the time, I was 50 years old, and I've lived a good life. So I was kind of, I never had the 5 stages of fear, like bargaining and all that with God. Interestingly enough, I'm getting a little more religious now for other reasons. We could talk about that on a different podcast.
Yeah.
But I realized, I was like, well, I guess I'm not really a believer in God. You know, my wife would say I'm a deist. And as much as I don't like labels, especially ones I don't really understand, I do believe in our higher power. I just don't believe in a lot of the interpretations in standard religion.
In religion,
yeah. You know, the Catholic Church has done some rough things to defend by any measure.
I was raised Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was raised Catholic too, and I actually met some friends that have been going to the Catholic Church here in Huntsville. There's one Latin Mass, and I'm strongly considering of attending. And we had they have a group of men that meet once a month, and they smoke cigars and drink whiskey, which sounds like a lot of fun. So that was the other thing about my cancer. The only thing my standard oncologist could say was that it's not my phone and it was not tobacco, which was honestly a terrible thing to tell me, because all I wanted to do since then is smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I have smoked a couple cigarettes. I hate to tell people, but I've stopped it too, because I had another issue that I'm not ready to talk about. And all the doctors ask me every time is if I smoke. So I'm going to stay away from that as much as I do enjoy it. It's a terrible. Never try it. Never try it. But so just to go try to get back on track. So I was in a really bad pace, but I really put it to the fasting and the fenbendazole.
That kind of gave you a shift in your mindset there, and helped you.
Like I said, is, you know,
be more positive.
6 or 7, and I'm at day 8 now. I'll talk a little bit about what I went through just the last couple of days. You know, so last night a friend messaged me, and you know, so I ended up talking about it, and then that's why today I was like, so this is one of those weird things, right? Because you reached out to me, you said, hey, I want to check in with you on your cancer, and we scheduled it for today, and today was when I got the news on my thing, and then this guy reaches out to me. It seems very strange that all of these, you know, it's a coincidence, and I do believe in coincidences.
Synchronicity,
yeah, but something's weird about that we set this up to have this follow-up. So Rorton Clinic, febendazole. I would do ivermectin as well now. And my understanding is in Tennessee, it's available over the counter. There's a number of books and podcasts and YouTube to watch, but yeah, fasting as well. Now the fasting is a longer discussion. Like I said,
from what I understand, like the cancer wants to feed on glucose. So partially, if you do the fast, I guess you're pumping the ketones instead of the glucose.
So that's the real thing. And that was talking to these clinics. So we talked to other clinics that the Rorton Clinic is the place I recommend super highly if you're within driving distance. There was another place in Texas. So now in Texas, if we can, let's talk a little bit about that. I don't know if you want to go over or
we can go.
I've rambled a lot, so we can do a second one if you want, because I want to make sure we hit what you wanted, but kind of like the way this is going. So there's a place in Atlanta called Humanizing Healthcare, and they do they use what is the Christmas one? Mistletoe and evening rose, which are very popular in Europe as cancer treatments. Anyway, that's the aside. I want to talk about the Warburton. So it's called the Warburton effect. I might have that. It's something with a W. Was a doctor in the 1920s, German Jewish doctor. It's sad that we have to make that distinction, but that's a whole other discussion. And he discovered that cancer feeds off of glucose. Now, the reason it has been discounted, and I can't tell you how angry it makes me that the people I've talked to have not been told anything about their diet. Literally, my friend Double A that I mentioned that I've lost track of, and I'm very worried that he died. So we became friends. You'll enjoy this. We were having chemo at the same time, and we started talking. And he's a former Army guy. And right before I was just about to invite him to my home for the shooting range, he goes, "Man, my dream is always to have my own shooting range." And I said, "Sir, you're in luck because I got one." So now, unfortunately, he was in such bad shape. He really only came out here once, but to be kind, because that's our society, he brought Popeye's chicken.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, you should not be eating this." He's like, "What are you talking about? My doctor told me I need to eat as much as I possibly can." And I'm like, "Yeah, you should not be eating this."
Because all the seed oils
and fried food and carbs. Anyway, to talk about glucose, I'm going to tell you a couple things. Okay, so this guy, Warburton, he discovered this and had a lot of successes in helping people with cancer, but it didn't always work.
Yeah.
So what they found is that cancer has two mechanisms to feed off of. One is glucose. The other one is an amino acid, and not an essential amino acid, if you're familiar with the difference. Essential amino acids are ones that humans have to ingest. Those are 9 of them. But there's, I don't know how many. But this is, and it's one with a G. I can't remember which one it is. Man, my wife knows.
Glutathione or
glutathione. There's 2 G ones, and they sound very similar. It's either that. It's the most amino acid, and your body produces it. Now, and this is why you need to go to someone who knows what they're doing, and this is why I recommend the Rorton Clinic.
The Rorton Clinic.
Yeah, I was trying to limit that amino acid.
Oh.
And now the way they do it, so this is essential, and it's the most, I think it's the highest one in your body. What they actually do, and then we might finish on that. I'll say a couple more things and we can finish on that, and maybe we'll have a part 2 to this in a couple weeks if you like, where we can discuss some of the other things. But the idea is, so the fasting for me works really well, but you hit it on the head. It's a ketogenic mimicking diet. Mm-hmm. So the Worden Clinic, their suggestion is actually called the low carb Mediterranean is what they recommend. Okay. Now, again, there's essential fats, EFAs, essential fatty acids, and there's essential amino acids, which are proteins. There's no essential carbs. I think for optimal health, you want to have carbs, but you really don't need carbs. So you could do carnivore, you could do something like that. You could just do very low starch carbs. But that's really what you want. You want to be in ketosis as much as possible. So I'll come back to the ketosis and the diet and what I did during chemo, because I think that would be very important. That would be a question anyone had, and we could expound on it. But that ketogenic diet, because there's a lot of these ones, part of the theories is, it's all coming back to me now too, is that honestly the ketogenic diet is one of the most healing or comprehensive healthy diets there is. Now there's interesting stuff happening now because it's so popular over the last few years. I can't remember the doctor. He was known as the carnivore doctor, and he just recently, and by recently I mean in the last year, maybe longer, he started actually eating fruits again. So I think, and that's an argument too. So there's one universal for all diets, and that's no processed foods. Stay away from the seed oils. Stay away from things that come out of the bag. Even it's interesting, as someone who tried to be paleo for years, you'd listen to the arguments between vegetarians and paleo. And honestly, they were very similar. They had this, paleo was like a little bit of meat, but these people, they would go at each other. I tend to not think the vegan diet is good, especially long-term. But one argument is you should actually cycle through all these diets, right? Like it might not hurt being a vegan or a vegetarian for a week or two, and then you could do carnivore for a month, and then you could do paleo, and you could do, I think there's something to that. As omnivores, we're supposed to have a very high variety in our diet. And I'll say a little bit more about the fasting, and then I want to go into the one place in Houston, and I'll have to email it to you so you can put it in the show notes. Because again, I would go to that place. We found them. They were trying to find. They really pulled on that glucose level. And they couldn't find people. The FDA wouldn't allow it. But you know who they could help was dogs. Dogs, it's really easy to monitor their diet. And so in Houston, I think it was Houston. It might have been, what's the place? San Antonio? And somewhere in Texas. And there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube from them about 7-8 years ago.
Is this Dr. Siegfried or whatever?
Well, so it's the Siegfried protocol. He's the guy, and he's not a doctor. He's a PhD, and I think he did. My wife will actually know better. He has his textbook he put out in 2012.
The thing is the metabolic theory of cancer.
The metabolic theory of cancer. The Worden Clinic follows that, and all of it. Like I said, they've expanded because that's the part of how insane the FDA has kept a clamp on this. Is part of what these integrative oncologists, and especially in other countries, they're doing is they're just lowering the chemo dose and combining it with the ketogenic diet. So I'd actually going to amend my recommendations. I would start the febendazole, and then I would go into some kind of ketosis, go some kind of ketogenic diet.
Now, can you get to there with fasting alone, or should you just adopt like some kind of just basically kind of
I would
diet?
actually recommend.
Or
I've
that
been very
Mediterranean
successful
diet?
with fasting, but the real part of fasting, why it was so powerful for me, I think, is because it's a ketogenic diet.
I got you.
It's not really that, right? You're not eating anything. So I'm actually changing my recommendation because I I intermittent fasted for years. And then I did the long-term fasts.
A really long-term fast, yeah.
I had done a 12 or 14-day fast the previous year. And again, I think the cancer, I was kept trying to do with that, but that's been the same thing this last year. I couldn't bring myself to fast longer than 2-3 days. It's the summer and this and that. A lot of stuff happened. I finally decided last Monday, okay, I need to fast now. So I got back from Labor Day weekend and I started a fast. And so I haven't really eaten anything. I did have my wife made a stew and I had like a tiny little bowl of it. But there was also low carb. So I haven't dropped out of ketosis. The big thing on fasting long term, once you go more than 18 or even 24 hours, is your body goes into what's called autophagy.
Okay.
And that's where, so I think that's a lot of the problems we have. And this is everything, diabetes, all of the chronic diseases we're dealing with now are because our insulin levels never drop.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And, there's this term insulin resistance. And your organs become insulin resistant at different rates. So all of these kind of things, that's why this comprehensive thing, and that's why they think the ketogenic diet. And I think, probably the ideal is you be ketogenic for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and then have some carbs and because that was that
just to keep those insulin levels from going.
Bull Sardino, I think. Yeah, the really, this is what I believe. So this is what they go into in the fasting is, especially where we evolved, but every ancient culture has a history of fasting.
Yeah.
So American Indians, they would do like the 3-day fast with the sweat lodge and go on a vision quest.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church has a thing where you're supposed to fast on certain days. So pretty much they all know it's a beneficial thing. And honestly, and I said this last year and I never followed through with it, but I think I'm going to right now my goal is weight loss and to maintain that weight and rebuild muscle. So right now my plan is to fast until Monday next week. And you got to look all this up. Since we've gone an hour already, I think we can have a follow-up and talk one of these topics in depth if people are interested. You let me know.
Okay.
Because there was a lot. I did cold plunging. I have a sauna at home. That's part of what I want to do is sauna again tonight. I'm really getting better. I took a lot of different supplements, but those are really so start with mindset. And I think
no, when you say mindset, like, are you saying like kind of like a gratitude type mindset, or like what kind of mindset?
That all helps.
Just like I'm gonna overcome this. I
think it's the positive attitude. Knowing, just ignore the negative.
Okay.
That was this guy I talked to last night. He goes, "Oh, thank you for saying that." Because I was just like, "Listen, you're gonna get through this." I just said it out of nowhere because I was talking about all these other things. And he just stopped me and he goes, "Oh, thank you for saying that." Nobody, that's all I want to hear. And I would just ignore any of that other noise, because you're always going to have that in the back of your head. I if that voice started the last week, my friend asked me, "Hey, are you nervous about it?" And then all I heard it was more and more, and I was like, I was so scared, just flat out scared this morning, waiting for the doctor to hear. Like, I'm like, oh, and my wife has been good. She's come with me to all the things. So we were talking about stuff. It kept my mind off it. And he finally came in and he's like, okay, you're all good. And it was just like this incredible weight. And I've been smiling all day. And I didn't realize like how terrified I was. So, you can get through this. And I think the fasting and, for me, it was losing weight and getting that together. Just know you can get through this. Like, so this goes back into my personal beliefs. Like, I believe in those spontaneous healing. I believe in that mind over matter.
Yeah.
I don't mind, so it don't matter.
Right.
But honestly, so I generally, for years, I've been like, I'm just a super positive person. I'm a people person.
Yep.
So that's why I want to, that was a old trite thing people would say in interviews. I'm a people. I really am. I go around and I like meeting people and
you're a very gregarious guy for sure.
I like to be, and I'm trying to, as a father now, because my wife, as you know, is very shy and introvert, and my son had those. My stepson has those tendencies, and I've really pushed him over the last 6-7 years to get out of it, and he's doing so much better. And it's just a better way to live. I quoted the classic movie Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
Be polite to everybody until you don't need to be. I believe here. I actually did it. Remember those good old kung fu movies?
Yeah,
yeah. This is how
like
the
David Carradine or like
yeah. Well, no, the Hong Kong ones they used to. When I was, I'm quite a bit older than you, but they had them on Saturday mornings and I think Sundays. But it was the Zen monks. They would greet like this. They're like, here, this is my hand covering the fist. I'm meeting you in peace, but this is there.
Yeah.
Kung Fu one. So anyways, that's a great aside. But the ketogenic diet, the febendazole ketogenic diet, look into the Rorton Clinic or some kind of integrative. The Houston place, like I said, is I emailed them, told them my situation. The head of it, and I wish I could remember his name, he called me and he gave me a bunch of advice. And that's one of the things I want to say about the glutathione. And I'll research better next time. I didn't really prepare for this, so I can get the right one. Because I was trying to limit it. And I went to see Dr. West at the Rorton Clinic. And the first thing she told me is she's like, you need to take some glutathione because it really helped with the neuropathy. So one of the side effects of my particular chemo was it kills your nerve endings. Now, here's something I'll tell you. My regular oncologist said, oh, that's really bad because it's permanent. Now, Dr. West said, oh, no, you can heal that. So again, and that might be additional advice. This is a side one, is you do have options. If you don't like your oncologist, I know a lot of people who traveled. Now, I was fortunate that I got a good oncologist here in Huntsville. It was convenience. Or my friend that called me last night, he's up in Tennessee. He's going to a different place. But Nashville has a very strong one. There's a place in Houston. I actually had a coworker who had esophageal cancer a few years ago, and he flew because his NASA job allowed him to. He was able to get his treatments in Houston. So that's a big one that I would leave you with is you can look into your options, and you feel free to put my social media in the show notes. anybody wants to contact me directly, I'm more than happy to help. Like I said, is not a doctor. I unfortunately had this experiences, but I think I learned a lot from it. And, again, I'm doing well. It was such a relief. So I'd really like to help out people. I think there's a lot of resources, a lot of better people but if I can help direct you to them, there's a lot of cheap options. So pretty much the vast majority of stuff I did, one of the problems I did was I did everything. Literally, as my wife found stuff, we would order more supplements.
Yeah.
And I was and it was a struggle, but I was so motivated because this was such a serious condition.
Right.
I was taking 30 to 40 pills a day.
Oh, wow.
And that's the last thing I'll say. So the Rorton Clinic will have, actually, this has been enough. But the last thing is and that was my fasting. So I fasted 35 days.
Yeah, you did.
I lost
fast. Yeah.
I lost 55 or 60 pounds. So I started at 293. I probably should be 210, 215 is probably a healthy 15% body. I'd like to go down to 12, but my goal is really to get to 15%. And I decided to stop the fast. So I wanted to make 50 days because 50 days is a nice round number. But I stopped it when we decided to do the chemo.
Okay.
It was a huge decision. My wife was really against it. In hindsight, I'm very glad I did. Like I said, it cleared me up. So that was really but what I did do, and I maintained that weight of 230. I just looked at I had a calendar like this in my office and I wrote down my weight every day. I just looked at it today and I maintained that all the way through the chemo.
All the way through the chemo? Wow.
All the way through. And I started eating it. So I stopped because I was like, okay, I've lost enough weight. Everyone says they lose weight through chemo. I didn't.
Well, I've heard it is probably a good idea to maintain like a little bit extra weight going through the chemo.
Yeah. And so I stopped, but I did do what's called a wraparound fast for the chemo. So my chemo was on Tuesdays every 2 weeks. So 12 sessions, 6 months, twice a month. I would start, you're supposed to start 72 to 24 hours before. You fast during the chemo, and then you fast a full day after. Now, I fasted through most of my chemo once I found out about this, from 24 to 72 hours and maybe I didn't make the 24 hours that good, but the vast majority of all 12 sessions I did. And I feel like that helped a lot because I was in ketosis for that. If I wasn't, now there was a period, so I'll leave it at that. I've said enough. That's enough for anybody. There's so much more to talk about. We could spend an entire session talking about the Rorton Clinic or some of these other things, but I feel like we did it. But did you have any other ones you wanted to ask me?
Yeah, let me scan through these real quick here. Yeah, you talked about some of those alternative treatments you found, like vitamin C, the glutathione. You said you did some stuff like cold plunges and...
Yeah, so cold plunging, I didn't do it strict. I literally filled my bathtub up and sometimes put ice in it, but it really was at like 60 degrees, 65. Typical cold plunge, I think the studies show you need to do like 50 degrees and below. I've got a chiller now, so that's one of the things we bought last year. Haven't used it much.
Mm-hmm. Now, was that kind of like the cold plunges kind of help with your mindset a little bit? Was that kind of
absolutely. The number one thing, and there's a few podcasters who talk about it. So it's the cold plunging is one of the most interesting ones because a lot of these health guys, you know, there's guys that like, oh no, the only way to cold plunge is in a river. Because what happens when you sit in cold water, you develop a thermocline. So even though you're in 50-degree water, like the water right next to your skin kind of stays there and develops a shell. And they're like, no, it's got to be running water. It's like, I did 65 to 70-degree water. It sucked. And I just felt good. That was probably the main benefit. Now, we can speak a little bit more about this. So the cold plunging, there's a lot of these health podcasters. Some of them swear by it. Some of them say, nope, not going to do it. You know, you got to understand, you do what you want. Like I said, I would do 10 minutes and I wouldn't plunge. I would put my legs in first, then I'd sit down in it, and then I'd go all the way back. And my tub was such, and I'm a bigger guy, that, you know, the water would only come up to about my chest. And, you know, then my knees would be out of the water. That's just I didn't get a dedicated cold plunge. What I had was a whirlpool tub. You've seen it you've been to my house.
Yeah.
Now I have that chiller now, so I was doing 50 degrees and it was so miserable I stopped.
That's cold.
Yeah. And then you only have to do 3 minutes, and that's so the other benefit of cold plunging, I think, is especially, so the 3 mechanisms in your body, the top 3 are for autophagy, and
which is like the recycling of
old proteins. And I think that's a big reason that so over my childhood in the 80s, that changed. It went from the common wisdom was don't snack, it'll ruin your dinner, to the best moms bring out the bagel bites and all of that. And it's another one of those things where we had this corporate FDA government cycle where they knew what was going to happen. They want to make us sick and weak and tired and sell more food. And so there's the top 3 ways to detoxify your body is fasting, sauna, and cold plunge. And when you combined all 3, which I did for probably 20 days,
wow,
I would sauna at night, because raising your temperature before bed, your body naturally drops in temperature.
Okay, yeah.
But raising your temperature, even taking a hot shower, will help you go to sleep. Supposedly. Okay. Again, not a doctor. Maybe I'm getting some of this shit wrong. I don't know. That's what I did. And I would be fasted, and then I would get up and cold plunge. And I believe there was a synergy there. So, but the other thing now, cold plunging, this is the other wrinkle, is a lot of endurance athletes cold plunge after they do a cardio workout.
Okay, yeah.
My understanding, and I could get this wrong, we listen to one great podcast called the Mind Pump podcast. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I think you told me about them,
yeah. Yeah. I call it the Dude Bro podcast because they have some of the best banter. They're just enjoyable to listen to. But yeah, you shouldn't do a cold plunge after a resistance train or weightlifting workout.
Okay.
Because part of building muscle is you want that inflammation.
The inflammation to happen.
Yeah. So it's good for endurance athletes after they've been running and everything cools down that inflammation. Anyway, that's the last wrinkle. The cold plunging, you know, I'm not doing the perfect, doing it at 60 degrees. But like I said, and there was one podcaster, one guy I listened to, is Joe Rogan. I think it was Dan Bongino. And he said, he goes, I cold plunge in the morning because he knows I did something hard. And he goes, I feel good all day because I did the hardest thing you could do. And he goes, it helps me. And honestly, that was the feeling. You could throw out all those other health benefits. It was just like because there's that little voice, you don't need to do it today. And I haven't done it in months now. I tried to do it a couple of weeks ago in my tub. Sometimes I think like a piece of hair gets in the drain and it drains out. But Yeah, the cold plunging is a bit. I want to get back into it because now the other thing of long-term fasting though is I go from exothermogenic to endothermogenic. So after 5 days of fasting, I go from always being hot to I'm shivering.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, and I experienced that every time I fasted. So I go from my wife cuddling up to me for heat to I'm cuddling up to her for heat. And she's like,
After
"Ah."
after about 5 days?
After about 5 days. Now, part of this is probably because when I do eat, I overeat or get the meat sweats. So I still need to. I've done great on this. The fasting for me, when I get the mindset, it's all in the mindset because, like at work, there's always snacks around. They put them out everywhere. Somebody has a birthday or something, and it's so easy to be like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna have this thing," and then you're eating lunch, and then you're eating dinner, and before you know it, you've overeaten. Even if you skipped breakfast,
Yeah.
And I like coffee in the morning, but I like my coffee with a bunch of junk in it. So I'm not having black coffee, which is what you're supposed to have. I have it with heavy cream, and then I throw some artificial sweeteners in there and maybe some other stuff. But it's real easy, especially when I'm a little heavy on the heavy cream, to get that up to 200 calories. Then it's not a fast. Then you've broken your fast already.
Yeah.
But it's real easy then when you have those snacks and everything to overeat. So I do much better when I just cold turkey. I'm going to do this. I'm going to come off my fast next week. And
Just say you're on a spiritual journey or something when people are.
yeah, I just feel like, hey, I'm on a strict diet right now, because I'm a firm believer, but that's your relationship with food. But like, I believe in luck. As my joke, what do I say? Oh, superstition is unlucky. But I believe in luck, and I believe in someone's birthday party. Have that piece of cake for their birthday party. It's good luck. But anyway, but yeah, so I'm gonna fast until next week. Like I said, I got through the hard part, and actually was much less. Maybe it's because that's part of the advice on fasting is it's like a muscle. So you don't go, hey, I'm gonna not eat for the next 30 days.
Today I'm doing
Today, right? I would, my honest, like skip breakfast, and do that for a week and see how you feel, and then have breakfast again. What you're going to find if you have a traditional carby breakfast, you're going to be hungrier at noon, at lunchtime, than you were when you don't eat breakfast. So that'll mess with your head. You'd be like, because understand that's what they do. That's why they put bread out at your table at restaurants. The bread makes you hungry, so you eat more.
Yeah, because your body's starving for some
nutrients,
right? And the bread is really kind of like void of any like real.
So
nutrients.
that clarity you get after being in ketosis. So I'm someone, it's very hard for me to get into ketosis as well. That's the other thing I'm going to say.
Yeah. Didn't you guys figure out that your liver would actually produce some glucose or whatever after you've been fasting for quite a while?
Less than the mechanisms. And this is why I believe my wife doesn't do well, but I do. And I don't know if that's a man or woman thing, or I know there's the individuals. My wife goes into ketosis in 18 hours, I think.
Wow.
One of the things we did, and we have the data, is when I was in that 35-day fast, we took my glucose and my ketones every day.
Yeah.
And my average glucose, blood glucose, fasted after 35 days, that's 35 days of data, was 80.
80. Okay.
Low 70, high of 90.
Okay.
The average was 80.
Okay.
My wife's.
Hello? Your audio just cut out for some reason. Your audio I lost your audio for some reason, Frank.
I had nothing changed here. I got
okay, now it's back.
Okay, my wife. So what I was saying is my average was 80, and I feel great. And the orthodoxy used to be that the brain needs sugar. They know that's false. The brain actually operates really well off of ketones. That's why you get the less brain fog. Oh, and that's the other thing I'm going to say about the ketogenic diet is we just heard this on a podcast. The keto flu, if you've heard of that, there's evidence, and someone said that actually has to do with you're not getting enough electrolytes. So anyone's dealing with that, I recommend Element. I can give you the link to that. But they have a lot of them now everywhere. That's a good one because it doesn't have any calories in it. A lot of times they mix those with sugar, but it's really that your sodium, magnesium, and potassium are low. I don't know how true it is. I haven't experienced the keto flu, but I also take electrolytes when I'm fasting.
Okay.
But we could do another one on fasting. Honestly, I could talk for that for an hour.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like I lost track of what we were saying.
We were kind of going into, because I asked the question about that your liver creates some, and you were tracking.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, there's absolutely, I think there's a mechanism in the bloodstream so that even so like I said, is the problem is so it's really hard for me to get into ketosis, and my ketones have never gotten that high. Now you can take some stuff that raises it, but my wife, I think, has the problem of long-term fasting because her glucose dropped below 60. And so I think she felt terrible. Now, again, I had experience with fasting. So sometimes I have a couple of rules to fasting, but we're almost, we've really gone over, and I got to start my nighttime routine.
Okay.
I'd say if you have other questions, I think we try to do this again in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, man. That'd be down.
We'll put some notes together. I don't know if you can remind me. I said there were a bunch of things I wanted to think. I'll do a little bit more research, and we can put that together next time. And like I said, my voice is still bothering me, but I want to start posting my to my socials again, so I might get on that. But this has been really a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Frank, thanks for sharing with everybody on all the experiences you've had and getting through it, and congratulations for having still a health.
Let people know they're more than welcome to reach out to me.
Where can people find you, Frank, if they want to reach out?
So now I don't even know mine. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Frank Hark, HARK. I think my X account is, it's at Frank7774.
Okay.
So you can look me up on X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it today. And then I have a YouTube channel, but I think you have that if you want to put that in the show notes. I don't remember what I called it. It might be the same thing. Let me see. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's at Frank7774, 3 7s.
Okay.
And
all right.
I'll try to post again. My voice has been, and I haven't posted in probably a year. I've been meaning to. It's funny how you want to post, and I had this inertia. I think I was in a pretty good funk this last year, but like I said, I'm feeling much better.
Good.
Today.
Well, thanks for coming on, Frank. Thanks for sharing all that with the audience, and I'll make sure to get all the links that we talked about in the show notes, and y'all share it with somebody that might be going through a similar thing. And I think Frank said it best with focusing on the positive, having a positive mindset through the thing, and know that you can make it through it.
Yeah. Very good. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everybody.